So let's go over the answers from the worksheet on the reading. So what is magnetism? It's a force that acts between objects with moving fields of charged particles surrounding them. What are the three types of magnetic forces? There's diamagnetic, paramagnetic, and ferromagnetic. What factors determine the strength of electrostatic forces? The amounts of charge in the particles and how far they are from one another. Why do you receive an electric shock when you touch a doorknob after walking across a carpeted floor? It's because the static charge builds up in your body when you repeatedly make contact with the carpet. And when you touch the doorknob, this energy is discharged in the metal, which causes a shock. Gravitational forces are attractive forces between two objects. Name 3 everyday applications of magnetism: compasses, burglar alarms, and MRIs. What is the method by which copiers and printers transfer images to paper? And that's xerography. And why is gravity essential to life on Earth? Because without it, everything on Earth would fly off to space. So hopefully you have an appreciation a little bit for these non-contact forces. The majority of the forces that we're going to consider in this class are contact forces, but all of these other forces are really important in our everyday lives. So we're going to do some practice with identifying these forces and when they are present in the various scenarios. So it will be good for you to start on page 17 in your packet. And we're going to go through each of these scenarios one by one. And you do not need to write an explanation for all of these. We're going to basically circle present and absent. For the first few, you may want to write a brief reason, but as you see, it gets become very repetitive, but each scenario is just a little bit different, and so we're going to just kind of work our way through them. So this first one has a block hanging at rest from the ceiling by a piece of rope. You're going to consider the forces acting on the block. So is there gravity? Yes, there is. It's present. And we always have gravity on Earth. Is there a spring? It's absent. No, because there is no spring. Is there a normal force? No, because it's not being supported by anything. Sorry, I skipped tension. Is there tension? There has to be a rope or a string or something like that. Well, there is a rope, so that one's present. The next one is friction. Is it sliding across a surface? The answer is no, so it's absent. Air resistance, that's absent because it's not moving in the air. The next one, a block hangs from the ceiling by a spring. Consider the forces acting on the block when it is at rest. So is there gravity? Yes, because it's on Earth. Is there a spring? Yes, because there is a spring present. Is there tension? No, there is not tension this time. We have a spring instead of a rope. Okay. So instead of having the tension, you now just have the spring. Is there a normal force? No, because there's nothing supporting the block. Is there friction? No, because the object is not moving across the surface. And air resistance, it's not moving through the air. So if you want to look at the answers a little bit more detailed, that's fine. But again, you do not feel any need to copy these explanations down. Okay. If you should start getting the hang of, gravity's always there, and looking at assessing whether these other ones are present. So the next scenario, number 3, a ball is shot into the air with a spring-loaded cannon. Consider the forces acting on the ball while it is in the air. So is there gravity? Yes, because it's on Earth. Is there a spring? No. Is there tension? No, there's no ropes or strings or anything else. Is there a normal force? No, because it's not being supported by anything underneath. Is there friction? No, it's not moving across a surface. And is there air resistance? Yes, because it is moving through the air. Number 4, a skydiver who hasn't opened his parachute yet falls at terminal velocity. Consider the forces acting on the skydiver. So there is gravity, there is no spring, there is no tension, there is no normal, there is no friction, And there is air resistance because he is moving through the air. Number 5, a block rests on top of a table. Consider only the forces acting on the block. So there is gravity, there's no spring, there's no tension. Oh, this time, normal, there is something supporting the block, so that one's present. But the object isn't moving, so there's no friction and there is no air resistance. So again, pause the video if you want to go over any of these answers a little bit more detailed. Number 6, a block is being pushed across the top of the table. Consider only the forces acting upon the block. Okay, again, we have gravity. There's no springs, there's no tension. There still is a normal because it's being supported. Friction, oh, it's being pushed across the table this time. So since it's moving, there is friction. There's also air resistance. The one force that is not listed here that's also present is the applied force because somebody is actually pushing it with their hand. Number 7, a block slides across the top of a table. Consider only the forces acting upon the block. Okay, again, there's gravity. There is no spring. There is no tension. There is a normal force because it's being supported. There is friction because it's moving across the table. And there is air resistance because it's moving through the air. Number 8, the driver of a car has her foot on the gas pedal. The wheels are turning as the car accelerates down the road. Consider only the forces acting upon the car. So just to note, the driver and her foot on the gas pedal has nothing to do with what's really happening on the car. So there is gravity. Okay, there are no springs touching like the outside of the car. There's no tension touching the outside of the car. There is a normal force because the car is being supported by the road. There is friction because the car is moving along the road. And there is air resistance because it is moving through the air. So the reason we ignore springs and tensions is because there might be things inside the car that have springs and tension, but they have nothing to do with actually being attached to the vehicle and pulling it or pushing it along. So here are the answers. Again, pause it if you need to copy them down a little bit more. And then number 9, a person is sitting on a sled and gliding across loosely packed snow along a horizontal surface. Consider only the first forces acting on the person. Okay, so the person sitting on the sled, he's not touching the snow. So here we still have gravity. So that's present. There's no spring. There's no tension. There is a normal, and that one's by the sled. Is there friction? Yes. There is some friction between the person and the sled. And is there air resistance? Yes, because the object's moving through air. Number 10, the wheels of a car are locked as it skids to a stop while moving across a level highway. Consider only the forces acting on the car. So again, there's gravity, because there's always gravity. There's no spring. There's no tension. There is a normal force because it's on the road. There is friction because it's moving. And there's the object's moving in the air, so there is air resistance. Hopefully by now you're seeing the repetition of a lot of these things and what's happening. The last one's just slightly different. So this is supposed to be a bucket of water, and I know a lot of people look at that and they think it's like a drink, but it's really supposed to be a bucket of water attached by a rope. It's being pulled out of a well. Consider only the forces acting on the bucket. So there is gravity. There is no spring, but this time tension is present because there is a rope. There is no normal because it's not being supported underneath. There is no friction because it's not moving across a surface, but there is air resistance because it is moving through air. So here are the answers. And again, pause the video if you need a little bit more time to go over all those answers. So now it's going to be your turn to practice. You're going to do Mop App NL4, which is in part 2. And then you should be ready to take the assessment. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. And then I will see you in the next video.